Hey guys and girls, welcome to Forgetting Walls, the podcast. This is episode 60, and this week we're talking about why the church matters. And meat and potatoes this week, we're discussing the universal church, the big C church, local church, how church should be done, what it looks like, is it important, how it affects our lives, and all different types of things. Myself, Robbie, Justin, and Wesley joins us this week to give discussion about that. We also talk about riots in the beginning. You hear how country I can really be at times when I say riots. It's interesting to hear me speak fast and forget how to speak. Also, we do kind of gloss over the Super Bowl a little bit. In the Giants in the Sound segment with Darcy Rumble this week, we talk about the halftime show, and we also talk a little bit about a band, Harp and Lyre. So check that out with us. If you get a chance, go to Giants in the Sound, give him a like, a follow, something, whatever it takes. Read some of his articles, especially if you're into the Christian hardcore type music scene. We would appreciate it. I know he would appreciate it. So I want you to stick around and join us, because this week, as always, the dubstep starts now. Hey guys and girls, this is episode 60, Forgetting Walls podcast. Here we are. I'm all by myself on my end. Justin's all by himself.
Everyone's all by themselves.
On their own end. So tonight we have a conglomeration from across the United States.
That's right.
We have Justin in Snowtown, Boone. It is like really bad there for him.
It's snowing so bad right now.
Robbie is at his dorm room in NGU down in Greenville, or Tigertown, or wherever the crap he's at. It doesn't matter. Tigerville. Okay.
I like Tigertown. That's a good one.
Tigertown. And coming from us from all the way in West, and I'm in West Texas, like West Texas, like no more further West Texas, El Paso side, Fort Bliss side. Wesley, the man, the myth, the legend, Mintz.
What's going on?
Who has the worst connection ever?
Hoping that the audio actually is good tonight.
We'll see. So if Wesley starts to talk and you're like, what is he saying? Just might have to ignore it.
We'll add subtitles.
I'm working off Barrack's internet here.
Yeah, the Barracks internet. I've never known what internet in the Barracks is like, because there was no such thing as internet in the Barracks when I was in the service.
It's literally like if you have one switch going to different routers for like 150 people.
Yeah,
that's exactly what it's like.
That sucks. So anyways, we want to welcome you to the show tonight. I want to say we got a great show for you. We don't know yet. We never know how it's going to go just yet, but we do have a good Giants in the Sound segment for you tonight. Darcy will be on. We're going to talk a little music with him. Yep. Probably a little halftime show as well. Mm-hmm. Like I said, it's me, Justin, Robbie, and Wesley tonight. No Keith, no David. You know, everybody decides to skip out. David has a legitimate excuse.
Yeah, David, I texted him earlier, and I was on the road, and it started snowing, like I said, really bad here. And so I texted him. I was like, hey, I'm on the way. And I didn't get a response. And then I got a text from him when I'm, like, on King Street, which is, like, not very far from my house. And he's like, hey, are you on your way yet? And so I called him, and I'm like, hey, I'm on the way. He's like, oh, okay, I just want to make sure because I'm not feeling too well tonight. But I can totally do it if you're on your way. And I'm like, oh, dude, don't worry about it. Feel better and all that. And he's like, no, I can definitely do it. So I drive about 15 minutes to his house, or to his apartment complex. And he lives up a giant hill. And so I get there, and there's just a line of cars, like, sprinkled throughout the driveway up the hill that are just stopped. because apparently they couldn't make it up. And so I was just stuck at the bottom, and I just called him and it's like, hey, I can't make it up. And he's like, oh, that's fine. We'll figure something out later. So So sadly, David can't make it tonight, but
yeah, but it'll be all right. We'll do something maybe fun tonight, And we were talking before the podcast. So if you don't know, we released an episode today. Well, let me take that back. We released an episode Monday because we record on Monday, so it's not technically today to you.
What's today?
I know it's so hard. It's so hard to remember recording timelines.
Right.
So,
Good push.
So we decided, me and Justin were thinking, man, it'd be cool to do another podcast, to release another podcast. And we said, I would love to go back to what we did before, just kind of like the two of us, and just like get away from
everyone else.
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh, sorry, I'm here.
No, but we wanted to go back. Just there was a lot of things that we wanted to do personally, as far as a podcast went. And we loved where Forgetting Walls went. We absolutely, this is what we wanted the whole time. We wanted to be a conglomeration of people, but we also still wanted to do something, on our own. And we decided, let's record an episode. At first it was going to be like this bonus episode to Forgetting Walls. And then we started thinking about it. I was like, man, I'd like to do this. I like to do this extra episode every week. So let's record a whole new podcast. So we released a pilot episode on Monday.
I think it turned out really well.
I think it did. When I did the edit, it sounded well. We actually sounded a lot better than our very first episode. So,
well, that's not hard to do.
And we decided that we're going to call it Off the Cuff. Right now, it's tentative, but it's going to be Off the Cuff with Justin and Keith. There's probably 3 other Off the Cuff podcasts out there. Maybe we're just like trying to ride somebody else's coattails. We're
going to fight for dominance.
Yeah, we're going to see who has the best off the cuff, but probably not us, but we'll try anyways.
Well, if anything, people searching for them will find you and start listening to you.
Well, that's the marketing strategy behind it. So, so what we're going to do is we're going to probably record, we got this episode released. We're going to record another one. And we'll probably release that one on the Forgetting Walls actual podcast site. And then hopefully within the next week or two, we will actually have Off the Cuff up and running on its own. Yep. Which therein lies the next thing we're going to do with Forgetting Walls. We were talking about we wanted to turn Forgetting Walls into a full type media group where we can be an umbrella for other podcasts, other people who are looking to do podcasts but don't have the outlets to produce their own podcast. We can help them there. People who want to do vlogs and blogs and things like that. Does it have to technically fall inside the Forgetting Walls realm? We would hope it would be about people, loving people, showing others how to love people, being inside our differences and loving each other there, and also on top of all of it, having fun.
Exactly.
So, that's the goal, to bring a whole group of people in, doing a whole bunch of different things that cause people to see the differences in everybody, but also at that same time, seeing how we are all just people, loving people.
Right.
So, that's the goal.
Yeah, and I'm really excited for it. I'm excited to see where it goes and who gets to join us on this ride.
Hey, absolutely. I would love to see if we can get a podcast that me nor Justin is speaking on.
That would be crazy.
It wouldn't it? Just to think that, we are doing this not just for us. We want to do it for other people. So if you're listening to us and you got some ideas, shoot it to us. We would love to hear your ideas. We'd love to hear your opinions. And this is my thing. Matt Carter over at Bad Christian from Emory said this once. I was listening to podcasts. He's like, look, this new form of media, these new outlets that we have out there, YouTube, podcasting, Periscope, all these different avenues we have out there of getting something out there. People hear your voice. It's like, it's awesome. Everybody should be doing something. It's not about being famous or making a lot of money. It's about just doing something.
Right.
And if you have a concept or idea and you need help, we're not professionals by no means, but we work really hard at it and we would love to help you. So, just do something. You don't need much, believe me. We started
Trust us, you don't need a lot.
We started out with literally nothing. What it cost us literally nothing to do our first 3 episodes.
That's true.
Except for the website. And guess what? If you work with us, you don't have to worry about that either. Yep. So talk to us. Well, that's our sponsor segment for Forgetting Walls Media Group.
Sponsor ourselves.
Yeah, right.
The funniest thing about that is when I was getting this mic at the Guitar Center in El Paso. I don't know if they're going to be a sponsor or not, but I'll put a blurb on there for them. But the dude like asked me my name because like when you go to Guitar Centers and stuff, you have to like put your info in so they can track your purchases later on or whatever, possibly give you like discounts and blah blah blah. So he put my name to the system, and he was like, "Oh, what do you need this mic for?" And I was like, "I'm going to use it for some friends of mine do this podcast. Every now and then I'm just going to be on the podcast with them." And he goes, "You should start your own podcast just because of your last name. Because it could be the podcast called like Mints or The Freshness with Mints or something like that. Just like things you can play off of.
The Fresh Mints of Bel Air. The Fresh Mints of El Paso.
Because he was like, all you need is just to be like, hey, this is Mints, and we're about to get fresh. And it doesn't even matter what else comes after that.
You're golden from there.
You're golden. You've got followers.
And you know, hey, if that's what we got to do, that's what we got to do. But you got to get a better internet connection.
Yeah, I do actually. For more than the podcast.
Yeah, I'm sure. So, the Super Bowl was last night.
Indeed.
Well, for us, it was last night. For everybody else, it was Sunday, this past.
Right.
Yeah.
And yes, Peyton Manning and the Denver Broncos. Okay, let's say it better. Von Miller and the Denver Broncos won the Super Bowl.
There we go.
The Denver defense put a whooping on Cam, and I'm sure we'll talk about it more with Darcy. But there was something that transpires from almost every sporting event, big sporting event that happens, and it's something that caught me because, you know, it's something. The word itself, you know, brings up a couple of images when you think about it, and it's the word riot.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Yeah. So last night I was thumbing through Facebook this afternoon, and I came across a video of, you know, the Broncos fans in Denver riot.
Yeah, I saw that video too.
And okay, so we had, you know, Michael Brown's death, where he was killed in Ferguson, and Aaron Garner. I mean, we have all these different deaths that happened, and there were riots after that. And you have riots in L.A., and then, I mean, we've had all these riots over the years where they were racially stirred riots, where, you know, a black man was killed and the people acted out. And then you have the Denver Broncos winning the Super Bowl, and I'm not saying it was just white people, but most of the people you saw there were white.
Right.
So there's these two different riots that are happening. Now, one I can understand. Not that I would totally condone them, but I understand why they happen. And the outcry of what happens there. It's
right.
Speaking out. You know, if nobody listens to us peacefully, so listen to us violently almost.
Right. There's no other choice.
Yeah, and I believe, I think Dr. Martin Luther King has a pretty good quote on it. I don't have it off the top of my head, but he does have a good quote. Go find it. On the reason why propaganda actually spoke to that since on the Bad Christian podcast. Last year after I think the Charleston shootings happened. So you can find that if you want to check out the Bad Christian episode with propaganda right after the Charleston shooting happened. You can hear another good take on the riots there. But my point is to the riots of last night.
Right.
Or of after Super Bowl Sunday.
Right.
This is the thing I don't get, okay? You're a Denver Broncos fan. You live in Denver. They win the Super Bowl. Your first instinct is to go into the town that you celebrated winning the Super Bowl, destroying
and just wreck everything.
I mean, I saw them like kicking over like newspaper racks and like
right. And the dude's
through
like stomped on the glass, and I'm like, dude, you had to like cut your foot on that.
It's like so, and they're shaking cars, and I'm like, are there people in these cars? I'm like, what is the purpose of these riots? Like, what is the purpose of these championship cities riots? I mean, I don't understand the psychology behind it. I don't understand the reasoning. I don't understand anything behind it.
Okay, well, I mean, we've seen it happen a lot of times before. I mean, you see it in Europe all the time with like soccer, football games. you see it all the time over there, and you see it also with hockey games as well.
Yes.
But I think, and this is just my perspective because, again, I don't think I have to tell you guys, I'm not the biggest sports fan. I'm not that much into it. I did watch the entire Super Bowl last night, and so that's a plus. But I think what it is you pour your energy and all you are into this team or into this goal, and you achieved it. But it is strange that the winners rioted, but I didn't hear about any riots in like Charlotte or anything yesterday.
Well, I'm going to say this just real quick. I think if Panthers would have won the Super Bowl, there would have been no riots in Charlotte.
Okay.
I'm just, not because we're a better city, but this is why. I've been to Charlotte many times. My daughter's in school at Charlotte.
Right.
I've seen the city and how policed it is and how organized the infrastructure of that city is. It wouldn't have happened. I mean, it just...
People that live in Charlotte are not charlatans.
But and it's not because
it's a very reserved city, though.
And I don't believe it's because the people are any better in Charlotte than over Denver. I just believe that there is, believe me, being in Charlotte is one of the cities I've seen that has, like, when you go uptown, downtown area, it's one of the quietest places I've ever seen during the middle of the day. I mean, there's a lot of traffic, but it doesn't seem like there's a lot like extra activity going on in the city. It's so like prim and proper. I mean, it fits.
It's so like business and oriented.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's like
very reserved.
So if you would have seen riots, maybe in the very, very outskirts, but not in this. I don't think you would have seen it in the city itself. And I don't know. It's just me. I don't think you would have seen it. But if we would have seen it, it would have been a complete shock to me. And I'm surprised that it happened in Denver. I'm really shocked that it happened in Denver.
Yeah, me too. And it's like, I think it's a result of, well, one, heavy intoxication. And also, like, you have all this pin-up energy. Like, your team just won that you've been following for all this time. And, I mean, I can't speak for, like, super fans or whatever, but there's a lot of energy and exuberance that comes with that. And I think it's a way to get out that energy in a way. And unfortunately, I think it's a tendency for us to be destructive and to take that out in not constructive ways, in very negative ways. And so I think it's just it's a mix of a lot of different factors. But yeah, I mean, again, I'm surprised it happened in Denver. I mean, you could just take a chill pill, guy, smoke some weed, do something. Like,
I know, that's what blows my mind. I mean, weed is legal in Denver. I'm like, you shouldn't be so high strung. You should be some laid back, like just some kosher type people, man. I was like, come on now.
Yeah.
Or maybe that's why they did have a riot.
Oh gosh.
But I mean, I think it's also just like people
done
feeding off of the energy of everybody else, you know? Like,
yeah, exactly.
You're in the bar, they win, you're just like, yeah, you look at the guy next to you, you don't even know him, you're like, yeah! And then you like, take this outside, right? Like, they shove you outside. And then so you go outside and like, you're like, yeah, and you like knock over something, and then someone else is like, well, he knocked over something, so I'm gonna knock over something.
Right.
Just kind of like that scene from Hot Rod.
Mm-hmm.
But to be completely honest, with as far as goes to like my background, there's something that really speaks to the redneck side of me about whenever something really great happens, I just want to light everything on fire. Like, so I can completely understand where they're coming from.
Fire, fire.
Yeah, just like, let's tip something over and burn it. I totally see that.
Yeah, this comes from the guy who decides, hey, let's text these shot callers.
At least I was the one that had it around my neck.
All right, I feel like there's a story there.
Arm.
Yeah,
there is a story.
All right. Are we going to tell the story? Yes, absolutely. You can't just leave that there.
My grandparents have a fairly large dog.
Okay.
And this fairly large dog has an invisible fence.
Okay.
That dog cares nothing about that fence. It just keeps walking. It gets shocked repeatedly, but it just not stop walking. So me and my middle brother we were just like, well, it can't hurt it that bad if it's just walking around. I will tell you right now, that dog is a badass. Because my brother put it around his neck, and like when he went first, he put it around his neck and like had the prongs right up against his jugular. And I actually have a video still of him getting closer and closer to the edge of the fence, and you hear the beep, you're like, beep, 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 beep. And he was like, "Is that me or is it your phone?" And I was like, "No, it's you. Just keep going." And then right when he passes the threshold, you just see this utter fear and this just horrible, terrifying pain enter into his face.
Oh no!
And he scrambles to take this thing off of his neck. And then I go next, and he's just like, "Here you go, dude, it's your turn." And I was like, "Yeah, thanks." And I put it in my hand, and I put the prongs up to my thumb, and I like just held it over, and right when I feel it, it's dropped. And he was, "That's a much better way to do that, man." Yeah, it is. So coming from someone that does something like that, yeah, I could totally turning something over and lighting it on fire and breaking all the glass everywhere.
Yeah, see, I don't mind lighting like fireworks and throwing firecrackers and stuff like that, but I don't know. I never thought, well, I gotta take that back. but see, when I destroy stuff, it was out of pure spite, like hatefulness. It wasn't because I was, celebrating anything. It was just, and no, I did gather enjoyment from the destroying this stuff, but it was because I was a mean person.
Right.
But
now, I would say that if the Broncos fans were in Charlotte, or if the Panthers would have won and the Panthers fans that were in Denver rioted, that'd be more understandable because you don't have to wake up the next day and see what you did.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. That's an interesting thing. I mean, riots, everybody riot. Man, I don't know. It's still upsetting to see people act like that. Mm-hmm. Grown men act like complete children.
Yeah.
I do that every day at work.
Anyways, we'll be back in a moment with the meat and potatoes.
Make war, everybody fight it. I ain't keeping quiet. They say this won't hurt me. They lying. They just trying to murk me. Slowly I'm dying. Lied, they lied. Now they trying to body us. Pride, my pride. Your button is a slaughterhouse. Trying to hold on, but it's hard screaming. Whoa. Slave on this track, and sin is the pimp son. I just see Bart Simpson. Danger, man, cause this thing is a monster. Pimp said fight, cause sin it'll harm ya. So that's what I do till I hear the bell ring. Start number ride, that's an everyday thing.
And welcome back. That was Tadashi with Riot, because we just talked about riots, so why not?
Fair enough.
I see what you did there.
So yeah, that was off the Blacklight album from 2011. Tadashi, 116, Reach Records. I think that was Reach Records.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. If you want that, check it out. As always, you can get any of our music except for what we may play later on our Spotify playlist, the show list. Ask me and I will send you a link. How you like that? I'll send you a link to our slow list playlist.
Slow list playlist. It's going to be a great night.
It's already a great night. What are you talking about, man? Come on.
It's been a good night.
It's been a good night. Wesley's on the show with us from El Paso.
That's true.
We can barely understand what he's saying. That's just about like every other night.
Sorry.
Especially if he's got a drink in him. What, Wesley?
I'm actually not drinking tonight.
Yeah.
At all.
That's probably
I
a
got to
good
work
thing.
tomorrow.
Did you not work today?
No, I didn't have work today.
Interesting. I had work today.
The day after the Super Bowl.
True.
We never have work the day after the Super Bowl.
There was a suspicious 2-hour delay for all Brunswick County schools today. And
Seriously?
I'm like, why did they have a 2-hour delay? Because it was raining yesterday.
Because all teachers are hungover.
That was my point. I'm like, the Super Bowl was last night. They took a 2-hour delay. Why don't they just take school off the next day? I think Monday after the Super Bowl should be a national holiday.
National Hangover Day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We could call it the hangover. That'd be dope.
So, anyways, tonight we're gonna stray away from what we've been doing for the past couple of weeks, getting to know everybody on the show.
Mm-hmm.
We have a few people out that are key people in. We always want to hear David's questions. We want to
That's
hear
true.
his multiple repetitive would you rather.
Would you rather's?
There you go. So, tonight we had a question come up, or actually we had this question come up a couple of weeks ago when we were doing some brainstorming.
Right.
And we're going to talk towards the question of why the church matters. Is it important? What I guess that's what we're going for tonight.
Okay.
Yeah.
Robbie brought forth this question. Actually, it was from a book. Robbie, you want to elaborate a little bit on it?
Yeah, so the book's called Why Church Matters, Discovering Your Place in the Family of God. It's by Joshua Harris. I think this is like a second edition of the book. I think the first title of the book was called Stop Dating the Church. And that was more just trying to grab people's attention kind of thing. But I think he got a couple a backlash from it, so I think that's why he changed the book title.
Gotcha.
Interesting.
So what does he say in that book? Just curious. So we have a little bit of a jumping point.
Yeah, so he kind of starts off and he talks about how Jesus loved the church so that we as Christians must also love the church.
Okay.
He starts pulling out verses, the one that you see in Ephesians 5:25 through 32, where it's husbands, love your wives as Christ loved the church, and he gave himself up for her, that he might sanctify her, having cleansed her by the washing of the water of the word, so that he might present the church to himself in all splendor, without spot or wrinkle or such thing. And he goes on, he reads the whole verse. I'm not going to read all of it. But then he relates that to, instead of relating it husband and wife, but relating it to Jesus and the actual church.
Right.
So he takes a more literal stance to that. And he says, well, because Jesus did it, then since we need to be like Jesus, we also must do this.
Okay.
When he talks about the church, he talks more about the church as a whole.
Okay.
More thing, like a capital C church.
Like capital. Okay. Like a universal church.
Yeah, he says it's important to be a part of that no matter what denomination it is. Just as he doesn't say to get into the specifics of every denomination, but as long as you believe the basic Christian fundamentals, then that's considered part of the church.
Okay.
And he just kind of goes on from there, and he just kind of tells you why Jesus would want you, because God loved the church, that you should also love it, and just that as Christians, there's no way we can do it on our own. And so that we need this community of believers, and that you can see this throughout the whole Bible, that there's been community of believers, and that no one's ever really done church their whole life without being with other people.
Okay.
That's what I've gotten from the basic premise of the book.
Okay. Very nice. So, what are your thoughts on that, Robbie?
I agree with a lot of it. It'd be kind of hypocritical because right now I'm not considerably part of a church,
Okay.
Letter-wise. But I mean, switching between Greenville and Ocean Isle Beach, it's gonna be kind of hard to be in a consistent church all the time,
Right.
local church. But you still attend church on Sunday, still go to that, even though it's just a building. It's not about the building; it's about the relationships and what goes on there,
Right.
kind of thing. That's
Okay.
more where I stand on it.
Okay. Gotcha.
But I don't know if I could really see a Christian never going to any type of church at all.
Okay.
Without having that community of believers.
Okay, so that's absolutely essential.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Very good.
So let's clarify a couple of definitions here before
Let's
we
do some terms.
let's get this vocabulary out the way.
Words matter.
All right, so
Christianese.
when we're talking about why the church matters, okay? Are we speaking in a dual definition here, meaning the global all church under Christ, and or individual congregations separated by buildings, names, and denominations?
It sounded like, from Robbie's basically like synopsis of the book, it sounded like the book is discussing the actual like church as a whole, like everyone that's going to be in heaven. That is the church.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's what it sounded like to me, what the book was saying.
Yeah, he definitely puts an emphasis on that there is a universal church, but he's also puts an emphasis on finding a local church that's right for you and being involved and being a part of that part of the church as well.
Gotcha.
Okay. So let me ask you this question. All right, Robbie, you said that, you know, a Christian will eventually have to go into, I guess, a church at some point.
Yeah, basically, like some kind of church setting, some community of believers. I think there has to be that like core, because there's no way you'll be able to do this all alone. I mean, I guess there could possibly, but I don't see it.
Well, let's break that down, because for me, what you're saying, Robbie, is that as a Christian, you have to be a part of a church in order to do this Christian life thing.
Not necessarily like a church building, but like a church community.
Okay.
Just because, like, I mean, like, there was a point in my life where it was like us doing those Bible studies together,
Right.
and I could see that as church. That's where I went. That's where we worshiped. That's where we talked about ideas. That's where, like, messages. That's where God spoke to me. And there was a community of us where we all would, like, prayer requests. You know, we'd pray over each other. We'd talk to each other. We'd fellowship. We'd have dinner. That was still church to me. It wasn't a specific church building with a big sign out front that said Reverend Keith Wilson, you know?
Right.
But it was still church to me.
Okay. So, and that's what I want to try to break down, because I feel that people get very confused in how they line up when we talk about church.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
They get this concept of, you know, and of course buildings, you know, congregations, Sunday morning worships, Wednesday night dinners, you know, Tuesday evening Bible studies. I mean, we've all been there. We've all been a part of something of that nature, because we are all, you know, quote unquote Christians.
Right.
But, you know, it seems that I would say the masses of Christianity would say, you know, being at a place of worship on Sunday morning is how you do it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, and I don't know necessarily if Joshua Harris would agree with my view after reading his book still and still having this view. I don't know if he'd necessarily agree with me, but that's still kind of where I stand.
Okay. So it doesn't matter necessarily the building, but rather you take the church to mean like what it meant in Hebrew, the ecclesia, the body, like, of believers.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Because I definitely think I had a stronger connection with people when we went to those Bible studies than I did when I went on Sunday mornings.
Okay.
Just because, you know, you kind of felt like you had to be proper. You had to put on this face. You had to worship in this way. And when I was at this Bible study, I could just be Robsy, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Well, and see, that's my thing. It's not that. Okay, so obviously people who have listened to the podcast for a hot minute know that my feeling on institutional churches. I felt like that for a while. If you caught any of the very early episodes, and I'm talking right around between probably 13 to 20, especially when I had Peyton Jones on the show. I mean, we're episode 60 now, people. I mean, we're 40 episodes away from when we had like the biggest person celebrity-wise on the show yet. I mean, that's crazy, right? But I mean, he has the same mindset when it comes to, you know, church and institutional churches should be done differently and things like that. You know, there's more of a community and people being together, and it's not just, the dog and pony show that a lot of people see on Sunday mornings. Now, don't get me wrong. He still has church. He's a church planner. He does it's not technically he has a building. I mean, he'll put a church anywhere. He'll do it in the park. He brings people together, and that's his thing, because his calls, I've listened to more of Peyton Jones than probably most people will ever listen to Peyton Jones. And I honestly believe that his heart is for people and for them to know Christ the way he knows Christ. And that's awesome. And I love that. But when I hear that question, why the church matters, I think the church matters because it's the body of Christ. I don't think the church matters because you got to be somewhere on Sunday morning.
Right.
Now, a lot of people will buck that against me. They will say, no, you're wrong. You got to be there. I don't think that we should put so much emphasis on being in a place that we have to, like Robbie said, put on this mask or this facade to look a certain way with a certain group of people that normally, and quite honestly, that you would probably never associate with in your entire life, except for that time that you're at that church.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and definitely with definitely with like where I was at that time when I was with that Bible study, that's the way God spoke to me. But I don't see in a future that being like still my church. Like I don't know if that's something at that season in time that was right for me. But I still think moving forward that there will be better ways to use the gifts and talents that God gave me in an actual church setting.
Yeah, it's tough for me because I've been in and out of the church on both ends. Before, not being a Christian at all, not understanding, being taken to churches because of my grandmother at points, Easter and Christmases and things like that, and then becoming a Christian and becoming one of those hard, staunch, legalistic types for a long time. And then now, this deconstructed, I don't know where I stand. Which is the craziest thing of all. I mean, for me to sit here and say these things, some people would listen and go, I had a conversation with somebody on Facebook not too long ago, and I had said some stuff. I said some stuff about Trump.
Okay.
And basically it was because, I think it was after the whole Falwell supporter, right before that, but he basically went on a show and said, I don't need God's forgiveness. Right. And that's what it boiled down to. He said, I don't need God's forgiveness. And that for me, sent chills down my spine, because here is a man that we talked about last week, Falwell supporting from Liberty University. Now there's this big evangelical support. Of course, they're white evangelicals that are supporting him, but needless to say, there are Christians supporting and will vote for this man who basically says, well, yeah, I guess he believes in God, but he doesn't need his forgiveness. Mm-hmm. And for me, that sets a tone to say he does not share your core values, your core beliefs. You as a Christian who believe Jesus is the way, the truth, the life, the man who died on the cross, the resurrection that gives us life, defeats death, he doesn't technically believe that. So
you're giving your stamp of approval right over to it.
Exactly. So you get to this place where it's like this is the mentality that comes from these institutions.
Yeah, definitely. Like you can see it just within regular Sunday churches.
And how can I be a part of places like this who claim to worship the King, Jesus, and here's my thing. I'm no better than them. I mean, I have nasty skeletons in my closet. I have some things that in my life that needs to be cleaned up. But I'm going to be open and honest about it. I'm not going to hide that from them. Mm-hmm. But I don't. It's hard for me. I don't.
Yeah.
Today is a different outlook on what I think church is. It's more than that building. I've said it for years. Even when I was in the building, I would take kids out of the building. Y'all remember? I don't know if any of y'all were there at that point, but I took a group of kids out of the building and I stood them outside and I said, "Okay, everybody, show me where the road is," right? And they pointed to the road. And I said, "Show me where the pond is," and they pointed to the pond. And I said, "Now show me where the church is." And
They pointed at the building. Didn't they?
and they pointed at the building.
Yeah.
Except for a couple who had been around me for a while, and they're like pointing
Did they
at.
point back at themselves?
They point,
Like,
yeah.
"Here I am."
Yeah, they point back at themselves, and there was confusion. I said, "Now, see, this is the thing. You have to understand that that's not the church, and honestly, nothing in that building makes the church.
Right.
No.
And I think that's what riled me up over so many years until that point where I said, okay, it's time to go. And the funny thing is, not when I left the position I was at, but it was after searching for that next position and looking and almost like, going through that deconstructive phase of my faith to see, wow, man, not only have I gotten it wrong, I've been a part of the problem.
Yeah.
So, I mean, does the church matter? Only if it's the body that sits under the head of Christ.
Yeah.
It's just like when you think about, and I'm going to use military terms because that's pretty much what I know. When you think about the Army, and inside the Army there's brigades, and inside brigades there's battalions, and I work at a battalion level echelon. And one day, one of my bosses was actually talking to me, and he said, "Do you know what this battalion is?" And I said, "We're at the battalion right now." But I was talking about the building we were in. He was like, "No, you're part of the battalion." Like, and those people in the companies are part of the battalion. So we are the battalion. It's not the building. It's not all of our equipment. It's the people using the equipment and the people housed inside the building. That's who the battalion is.
Yeah, and the battalion matters.
The battalion matters.
But it's not because of all the things that are inanimate to the battalion. It's the people. It's the camaraderie. It's the faith of one another. It's the trust. It's the loyalty. That's what I don't understand when we talk. And of course, let me ask you this question: if you go out on the street and ask somebody why the church matters, what are most people going to point that church to?
The building.
Denominations, buildings. Yeah.
Denominations, yeah.
I think in our world today,
if you ask like anyone on the street here in El Paso why the church matters, and if they were going to a church, they would say, "Well, it's the place we have to meet."
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that as like your typical Sunday school answer.
Yeah, well, the church matters because that's where we meet.
Justin, what do you think?
I mean, I agree with a lot of what you guys have said. I mean, the church does matter. The universal church of Christ does matter because we are the body of Christ. I could go into a lot more, which screw it, I will. The church matters, and I'm going to go big C first and then little c. The universal church matters because we are the body of Christ. We are the embodiment. The church should be the embodiment of heaven on earth. It should be where the prayer that Jesus taught, may your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. That should be the driving force of the church. Is the church is the manifestation of heaven on earth. And then as such, that feeds into the little c church. What does that matter for local congregations? Well, same thing. We are the body of Christ. Therefore, if we are the manifestation of heaven on earth, then we, as the church, as the little c church, each congregation, we should be working to bring heaven to earth, to merge them to one. And I'm not talking about passing laws or getting things through legislation in order for society or culture to look more Christian. Rather, we should be feeding the hungry. We should be looking after the widows and orphans. We should be seeking for justice in our society in an unjust world. And be going out and being Christ in the world. Because we are indwelled with the Holy Spirit. We have the ability to do those things. And the church should be an avenue through which we're able to make these changes in our society, in our world. That is the purpose of the church.
Preach.
It's to get together and to have that community and to have, us talk together and pray together and weep with one another and mourn and celebrate together and have that community. That is great. But if you're not going out and doing anything in your community, if you're not going out and being Christ in the world, then what's the point of it?
Now, see, that's exactly the problem that I had at one of the establishments, one of the buildings that I work in. I was on, what is it called? The youth council.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that's the one. I was on the youth council at a certain
establishment.
A certain church in Alaska.
Yeah. So, and Keith Wilson was actually the youth pastor at that church. And he
no, I wasn't.
Youth council. Well, yeah, you were. So he also sat on the youth council, and there was a time when we actually had to, I only went to 2 of these, thankfully, but we would take what we talked about on the youth council to the men's meetings or the deacon meetings or whatever.
Right.
And one of the times, the youth members actually came up with this fabulous idea of getting batteries and getting non-perishable food items and stuff like that. And they wanted to take them to all the Section 8 housing around our area and just pass it out for free, whatever. Mm-hmm. And when we took it to the big church, the deacons or men's ministry, whichever one we were at, the only question they had for us was, what does this do for us?
Yeah, how does it build our building? How is this
going to give us more members here at this building if we pass out batteries and we give non-perishable food items? How is that going to do anything?
Ridiculous.
And it wouldn't back us up whatsoever.
Well, I mean, but that's how a lot of people see it. I've seen it among other institutions where they would try to come, let's do this joint event, okay? And in that joint event, now when we do these, they would do the follow-up cards or the, commitment cards or whatever they would do. There was always some stupid card. And they would say, now, when we get done with this, how do we split this up between us? I mean, who gets who? And I'm thinking, does this matter? Can we just say, and I said, well, what about this? What if I give you all the cards and you do all the follow-up? But that's a lot of work. And I'm like, well, what I'm trying to say to you is I don't care where these people go, which building they go to. I care that somebody's following up with them. So if it's about the building, then you do all the follow-up as long as you follow up with them. If you don't follow up with them and you're not reaching out to them and trying to provide community for them, then it doesn't matter which building they go to because it just all is dead in the end.
Right.
So for me, and when I hear this question, why the church matters, and I think about it, of course, my first thought is why does these buildings matter? Mm-hmm. Now, yes, I do agree that there is a place for them. There is reason for them. I mean, Paul wouldn't have spoke to these places, Ephesus, Corinth, Ephesus. I'm sorry, I already said Ephesus. All I can think of is Ephesus. Man, I'm right.
Rome.
He spoke to all these places. But he didn't speak to a building. He spoke to the church here, the church there. And it was always the church in these places. I mean, if you're Donald Trump, 2 Corinthians, But for me, I can't, I'm not going to align myself with a institution or building unless, and it's not about what they're doing in the streets. It's not about their homeless ministries. It's not about any of that. What I want to see is people going to a place that don't feel like they have to be there, but they want to be there. And it's different. That's a different mentality. And you know what I found so far? Nowhere that it seems like that. There's always a few, but
wanting to be somewhere that you don't have to be in, that's the true, like, definition of community. That's like home. Like, being somewhere that you don't have to be, but you want to be there. That's like when you get done with work, you want to go home.
Right.
You want to go back to your community.
Right.
You want to be with the people that you love. That
Right.
you have to be around, want to be around. And there's a real lack, I can't say for any other like region in the world, but there's a real lack of that feeling of home in the American church.
No, I absolutely agree. I mean, the church should be a place. I'm talking about the local church, but the local church.
The local church.
Yeah, the local church should be a place where you go and you are reminded of Christ through other people, through your interactions with them, through how they treat you, how you treat them, how you are being reconciled in this life to one another and to Christ through Christ. And loving one another. It should be a place where you are refreshed and you are reminded of Christ and what he has done and what he is doing.
yeah.
And that I totally agree with Wesley. That is something that seems to not be happening a lot. And well, I kind of take that back. I mean, through our perspective and through our experience, yes, I would say that we've been unfortunate in that we haven't encountered a lot of that in our lives, but I take hope in that there are places that do that and that seek that out.
Yeah.
And thankfully, my church right now, the church I'm a member of, even though we don't have formal membership, which we might get to talk about that. Do you have to be a member of a specific church? But yeah, I'm so glad that I'm a part of my church right now, because that's what we do, and that's what we seek after, is to love each other and to reconcile to one another and to Christ through Christ's love. Simple, and that's how we do things, and that's how we operate. And so I'm so glad that I have found a place like that. So there is hope.
You know, I remember a time when, and it wasn't always the overall local church that I wanted to be there for, but I remember the youth, the times, those youth meetings, being there on Wednesday nights with all you kids and other kids, and it was something different. It was something special. It was like we came together, and you know, through the differences in all those things, it was like it was so much love and respect and family going on there. And I'll say this: I'm not talking bad about the local church. I'm not trying to at all. I'm just saying, you know, we've got to wake up. We can't be an institution for ourselves. We have to be the body that takes care of the body. Now, I know there's a lot of people out there doing it in, I think, in every single local body, there are people, I think, getting it right. I don't think I don't think there is a local body that is, I hope not, totally getting it wrong if they're truly under the banner of Christ.
Right.
I just think as a whole, as the institution as a whole, the hierarchy, the leadership, there's where the fault starts to break down. There's where the deacon board or the elder board or the senior pastors hinder the process of those who are trying to get it right. And that's my problem. And I'll be, you know, if you want to know my thoughts, read Church Zero if you want to know my thoughts on church leadership.
Interesting.
Pick up Peyton Jones' Church Zero and read a little bit, and you'll go, heretic. No, I'm not. I'm literally, it's literally in the Bible. I mean, it is scripture, quotes, verses in context, through whole chapters, and he speaks to it so eloquently and in such a way that most people, especially my age, can grasp. And you go, wow, that makes so much more sense, because Christ is the head of the church, not one man, not a small group of boards, but when you get down to our level, it should be a group of people in conjunction leading the church, not one person.
Yeah.
Right. And that's the things that I fall down. That's why it's hard for me to hear, does the church matter? Well, yeah, it matters globally. It matters universally. It matters as the body. But when we start getting down to these local bodies, man, sometimes I don't think they really matter as that building. I mean, look, we get together every Monday night and record this show, and this is my church. I know it may sound weird, but
I'm so sorry.
Why? Why? I mean,
no, I'm kidding.
But I mean, for other people to understand, well, why would it be yours? And it's because this is where I have my community. This is where I can say what I need. And what people don't understand is that the little bit that we record, which may seem like a long time, but there's a lot of other stuff going on in between the segments. There's stuff going on before and after. And we spend so much time together. Yeah. I mean, and throughout the week we talk, and these things come up, and this is how we deal with what's going on in my life. No, I'm not in a church at all. I mean, and I can't find one that I want to go to because of my baggage. I carry baggage from being youth pastors in other churches in the area. Right. And when you go to these places, they either expect something from you, or they look down on you, or, I mean, there's a number of things. And there's some people who have no care in the world and love me, but there's always something. And it's not the whole body of the people. It's a few of them. And it's hard to be comfortable in those environments. People go, well, it's not about being comfortable. No, it's not about being comfortable with Christ, but you should be comfortable around the people that you're supposed to be loving and them loving you.
Yeah, you should feel welcome and have love between the members.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
the actual, what I thought was really interesting, like we always talk about how words matter. I love the old way, the old terminology, really, that used to be talked about, about the church. Instead of saying we're going to go to church, the body of believers in the area was the church, and the actual place where they met was the sanctuary.
Yeah.
And the sanctuary is where you need to feel most comfortable. You can't be touched in the sanctuary. Like, if you remember, old movies and stuff, people that just committed crimes run into the sanctuary, and the priest that was in there wouldn't allow the police to take them until they repented of their sins.
Right.
So I love that terminology. We need to get back to a sanctuary type of feel in the local church, because instead of, like you said, being completely uncomfortable around the people, that needs to be like the sanctuary. It needs a place to be comfortable, to let go, to enjoy worship and fellowship with the church. Like, the church meets at the sanctuary.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think that, kind of bouncing off that, church should be a safe space for you to go into and to be able to bring bring all of yourself. You should be able to come into church as you are, with all of your doubts, all of your insecurities, all of your questions. That was a huge thing for me. That's why I left the church when I was 13, because it wasn't a safe place for me to ask questions.
You can't ask questions there, because once you start asking questions, they think you're doubting. And if you're doubting, that means you're being a heretic, and you gotta leave.
Well, doubting is essential. Doubting is essential to faith, and
doubting is essential to finding out the right questions.
Yes,
you have to ask the right questions. You can only get to this point with doubt.
Yes, and I totally agree. And if we would become a church that invited these questions, invited that doubt, invited that wrestling in the mystery of it, I believe it would totally change the way we do church in the first place, and the way that this construct has been made, and it'll hurt. I'm not gonna lie. It would take a lot of getting used to, and it would take a lot of struggle and getting through it. But I think in the end, if we tear down these constructs that we've made and these assumptions that we've made about what church should be, then I think we can get to a more authentic faith if we just let go.
So what Justin's saying is we need to tear down the walls.
Well,
Sponsorship.
well,
Sponsorship.
but this is my thing too. Just real quick before I forget this, totally forget this. We're talking about being comfortable and being welcomed and loved, and we should be uncomfortable with Christ. I've always, me and Justin both said this. The gospel is offensive. Yeah. And it's offensive to the heart of man because of the grace and mercy that God has for us. I mean, it's going to be offensive, but there's no reason people should be offensive.
Right.
Yeah.
With the gospel. I mean, we can literally speaking the gospel in of itself can be offensive, but there's no reason we should be the asses. And we shouldn't be.
Absolutely.
You shouldn't let anyone know us, ever.
And look, I think, I don't know, I can't speak for all of us, but I know for at least me and Justin, we have been those asses.
Oh,
at
absolutely.
Points with the gospel.
And it's so great because you can say whatever you want. You can be the biggest jerk you want.
Yeah.
And someone will be like, that's offensive. You're like, the gospel's offensive. And totally and
Exactly.
justified and being a total dick.
No, but you're right. That's my thing. If the church matters, and I'll keep going back to it. If the church is going to matter, the people need to see what the church is. They've got to, and look, I've always been a proponent of denomination killing, because I've always thought, it was a thing that caused the most dissension. But Justin made some good points a few months ago.
I'm on the opposite spectrum.
He made a few points that were good. We do need to have those denominations, but my problem is that we can't get past the barriers of denominations to come together as the church. There's a balance that we're not making it.
I agree.
And that's my problem with denominations. I agree. And it's not because one denomination is right with doctrine over the other. I just think everybody has a different style of worship. Everybody comes to theology in a different presupposition. Mm-hmm. So for us, that's great to be together in those settings. But there have to be other settings where we come together and we cross those cultures. We cross those denominations. I'll use a conference. I think Robbie went to one this past year, to the Youth Specialties National Youth Workers Conference.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful place. I mean, youth pastors and youth leaders from across the nation, from different denominations. And the craziest thing is, I remember the last one I was at, I'll never forget it, because I saw these two Catholic youth pastors in their full black garb with their little collar, but they had some Chuck Taylors on at the bottom. And I was like, that's just the coolest thing ever. And
they're so hipster.
Yeah, but for me, it was like, that was cool because they were at a conference which was totally Protestant. I mean, it's a Protestant conference. I mean, there's no other way around it.
Right.
When we went to the YS in Nashville, there was a whole section of people from the Catholic belief.
Yeah, and you're right. So, I mean, for me, it's one of those things, like, we all came together. We all listened to some really good music at that point. We listened to some very dynamic speakers. We did a lot of different stuff outside, and nobody ever said, hey, you're a Baptist, so, we don't want to sit next to you, or we can't do this activity together, or you shouldn't be in this room listening to this speaker because he's not like you. Nobody paid attention to that. We all were there for one reason, because we all loved youth, and we wanted to see youth grow in Christ. So that was our common goal, Christ. So when we get rid of our barriers on certain occasions and say Christ, it changes things.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Like, when I went to YS, I actually didn't know that it was like mixed denominations. I just assumed it was Baptist because I go to a Baptist school, so I assumed we'd go to a Baptist conference. And when I got there, I didn't even realize that there were like Presbyterians there or Methodists. Like, I didn't realize that until like this one girl was this guy gave her his business card that said that he was a Baptist youth minister on it, and he wrote his phone number on it.
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, "Oh, you're Baptist? Oh, well, I can't talk to you because you're Baptist. I'm Protestant."
Wait, seriously?
But she meant talk as in like be together talk, like actually talk. It wasn't like I can't talk to you at all, but like I can't like pursue a relationship with you because you're Baptist.
That's still stupid.
Yeah.
That's still ridiculous.
It's still funny. So she got pinged as like the Protestant girl, and he got pinged as the Baptist guy.
Yeah, but I mean, my thing
Baptist
is
Protestant.
I know that's what I'm saying. Baptist and
Protestant. Not
Protestant.
Protestant, but Methodist or
Presbyterian?
something like that. Presbyterian.
They're not
Presbyterian
that
girl.
different.
Oh my gosh, that's so
It's just
great.
funny. It's
But see, that's my thing. It's like, why does it matter? At the end of the day,
It doesn't.
yeah.
it's
We're all going to die. It's not like there's a Baptist heaven and a Presbyterian heaven and a Methodist heaven and a Catholic heaven. We're all going to the same place.
oh my gosh, I'm quitting now. I cannot believe this. I'm done. The podcast is over.
You thought there was a Baptist heaven that only Southern Baptists would be there?
That'd
There
be
better be
a
a
boring
Baptist
place.
section. Where
I'm
there's
sorry,
fried
that'd be.
chicken, and there's like a potluck.
No. You know, there has to be a Baptist section, but then, like in the back, next to the exit and close to the ABC store, there's a Southern Baptist section.
Well, see, here's my thing.
And no one's going to be in heaven after 12:30.
We're gonna be watching the football game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to
Because
say,
there's no time, so football all the time.
Robbie, it's funny that you said you thought YS was a Baptist conference, because when I was at the last place I was at, they were like, they were telling me, so you get to go, we pay for a conference for you to go to conference, go get training and stuff every year. So, you just need to tell us where you're going. Well, when the thing for me was YS, that's where I wanted to go. And then they asked me, it's like, so you don't want to go to the SBC youth conference? And I'm like,
No.
And they're like, why not? I was like, well, because I just feel that in order to grow, you need to be outside of just your denomination. You need to be in a group with other people to see the world in different perspectives. And see, that's my thing. That YS convention for me was like, that was church, man.
Yeah.
But being in that denomination, just in that place, that was church to an extent, but it didn't reach its fullest. And that's what I feel like. If the church matters, it needs to be its fullest. If the church is going to matter, it has to be at its fullest potential.
Right.
Because when everyone agrees with exactly what everyone else is saying, you don't learn anything else. You don't get any questions to come from that. And you don't get any kind of wrestling with the faith from that.
Right.
You just get a really complacent church.
Yeah, it becomes one big groupthink.
Yeah. It becomes a yacht club that meets on Sunday.
And I agree. And I mean, one of my biggest points about defending denominations and why I think that denominations are ultimately a good thing is that I think that each denomination really captures an aspect of God and an aspect of what it means to live in Christ really, really fully and really, really well. The problem is that can become a very separatist sort of idea if there's no interaction between the ideologies, between the denominations.
They're one of our little joint venture things that Keith was talking about earlier. We were trying to put together this huge let's get everyone to meet us here. And I think Keith said you had 50 different invitations for different churches, and that was just the third page of the yellow pages that when you search church in our county.
Yeah.
And one of the questions that I actually got from one of the youth was did you send an invitation to the Catholic Church?
Just out of obligation.
Yeah, I was I'm pretty sure we did. And they were like, are they going to sit in their own area? I was like, what? Why? It's not like if their crucifix touches your crucifix, it's going to set the building on fire.
Yeah, it's tough to get that across to everybody, that denominations really don't matter.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I guess they do, but they don't. And I don't know. It's tough, man, because I really want you to think about it, because when you read the Bible, you don't read denominations.
No, because the church was like
very small.
Less than 100 years old.
I mean, yeah, it was less than that. I mean, we're talking like in the first 30, 40 years that we're reading about the church.
Yeah.
And there wasn't a chance for it to split. But the funny thing is that you do see factions starting to form.
Exactly.
There. And you wonder, like, were the early church fathers, were Paul and Peter and Timothy and guys like that, were they staunch against that happening? Were they really trying to quell the divisions? Because it looks to me like Paul was trying to keep everybody on the same page in his letters. Mm-hmm. He didn't want these splits and these factions. So it kind of makes you think that shouldn't we be fighting against that as well? But I mean, I understand the world we live in. That's almost impossible.
Yeah, right. One of the bigger things for me on that note would be that the only information they had was what the disciples had and what Jesus actually, what everyone said about what Jesus said.
Right.
And then now we have the Bible. We have the 66 books into one book. And what the factions are now, more in general, are people disagreeing on what those 66 books say.
Right.
And how they interpret those 66 books.
Yes.
So what I would say in kind of like a pro towards denominations is that it's almost like several. Yeah, I'm going to be an antagonist towards Keith now.
Yes.
One thing that I would say, like pro denominations, would be it's kind of like when you have several different scientists and they're studying one thing, but they all want to study a different aspect of that one thing. Like if you can get the denominations together without them freaking out that they're together, and you can actually have them in a good discussion forum, everyone would learn something.
Oh, I totally agree.
If they weren't putting each other down, if we could get it to where the denominations weren't putting each other down, it would be like, say, I like studying geology and Justin likes studying chemistry. We could actually learn how to use both of what we've been studying in order to move forward with more knowledge.
Right. But it
denominations.
No, go ahead, Robbie.
I just think denominations are kind of useful just for the fact that it helps get people with a like-mindedness around each other, because you're still trying to build that community of people around you that will help lift you up. And so if you have somebody that's just like, well, I don't believe everything that you're saying about this topic, so let me just argue with you all the time, I think that would just be counterproductive. But, I mean, just as long as you believe in the core basic beliefs, that the denominations are just basically just like, oh, well, we believe in these little split-off thingies that don't really matter about your true salvation. I mean, if you believe the core things, and we're still all going to go to heaven, and then we're just going to be like, oh, well, we were right about this, but we were wrong about this. Oh, darn.
Right.
It's not going to be a big...
Well, it's expressions of faith. It's different ways that faith is expressed in different communities. And the problem is when it gets tricky with religion, and it gets tricky with Christianity, because in these different denominations, you have one religion, Christianity, claiming that it is, the one way, the truth, and, Jesus said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. There's no way to the Father but through me. And you have all these denominations claiming that they possess the most accurate vision of this truth. And when it gets to truth claims like that, and when it gets to when it involves people, of course, it always gets messy. But when it involves people believing that they are more right than another person, that's when a lot of these divisions and a lot of these antagonisms between denominations can occur, because you either consciously or unconsciously see yourself as superior to those other groups, because you're like, oh, well, I'm more right on this, or oh, I'm more right on that different issue. And that's and whether consciously or unconsciously, there's that air of superiority that comes about of being, well, I'm right about it. Like, oh, we can be wrong, but ultimately I'm right.
Yeah.
Well, I guess we can all say this, coming close to the end, that we all believe the church matters.
Yes.
It's,
without a doubt.
I don't think any of us sitting here, and I know there will be a lot of people that would disagree with us because they are not a part of the faith of Christianity. They don't believe in Christ. They don't believe in God. So they don't have our, mantra that the church is something that matters. Now, but we also agree there's some things that have to be evaluated and reevaluated and probably fixed at certain levels for these local churches and between denominations. There's a lot that we said tonight. I mean, from way people follow other people blindly to rude people.
My pastor said, so that means it's got to be right.
So it's going to be it's a tough subject that's hard to capture inside of an hour. But I think we did okay for it. I mean,
we did pretty decently.
Yeah.
And if we didn't, please let us know what you think. We always ask. Go ahead and tell us how wrong we were. Between the four of us, you can find something that we did wrong.
Oh, absolutely.
You don't have to mention my internet connection because we already know.
Yeah, the internet connection with Wesley is pretty bad. So let's do this. Let's take a break. We'll come up and we'll come back with Darcy Rumble and Johnson the Sound, and then we'll close the show. See you in a minute.
Harp and Lyre bringing us into the Giants in the Sound segment of the show. And that was Grizzly Adams Did Have a Beard from their 2009 album. And so here's the thing. I just heard of this band for the first time through this past week. One of my buddies just sent me a link. But it seems like half the other people on this show right now have already been familiar with this band.
Yeah, it was interesting because, you're our man on the spot with the music, and you're like, hey, let's check this band out, and I'm like, yeah, man, it's good stuff.
Yeah, so I go and look them up, and I see, they were active 2008 to 2014. So I'm like, dang, I missed the boat on these guys.
Just missed it.
Just
barely.
Just a hair.
But so how did you guys even come across them?
I came across them because of Robbie, honestly.
Yeah, I think I was just like basically looking up like Christian metal artist and just ran across like Harp and Lyre and was just like, oh, what's this? Grizzly Adams Did Have a Beard? I really like that song name. I'm going to look up this song.
Yeah.
Yeah, it reminds me like of a Devil Wears Prada song titles, like on that first album. Mm-hmm. Like, what the heck, HTML rules, dude? Like, I don't know who these guys are, but I'm going to love this.
Yeah.
Same kind of thing.
Yeah, well, this is like right at the end of Chiodos.
Yeah.
And so I think it was kind of like they were playing off Chiodos because I kind of feel like they have like a heavier Chiodo sound.
Yeah.
Almost.
Yeah, that is a very good comparison. Yeah, I'm just slowly trying to go back and listen through the discography now. I guess they had 3 albums out. But what's cool is now that, since I really missed the boat on Harp and Lyre, just seeing what the guys have been doing, because it seems like, there's not much information out there on this band now, but a couple of the guys are still doing music. So the drummer, Dylan Baxter, went on to play drums in Wolves of the Gate for just a couple years. Mm-hmm. He was on, I think, their Back to School album, and on their latest one, 5x5, which was 2014, I guess.
Yeah, it's the last one they just put out.
Yeah, so then I don't know, social media. It just looks like he got married and is doing other things now. But it's cool to see that connection with the band there. And also the guitarist, Jose Hernandez, which also is the best name ever, who is the guitarist in the band. He's got some stuff up on Noise Trade, just encouraging people to grab it for free because he wants the music out there. Kind of a total departure from Harp and Lyre, just real kind of singer-songwriter acoustic-y stuff, which is super rad. But yeah. Oh, go ahead, Keith.
Oh, no, I was going to say, I'll have to check that out. I mean, you are the Johnny on the spot with the music, so thanks for the update.
Yeah, well, on certain occasions. But it's interesting to see that, when heavier bands, the guys go to do solo projects and stuff, you often see just exactly that, something totally different from their kind of main project. So it's like the guy from My Children, My Bride, he has a side project called The Woodsman's Babe, and same kind of thing. It's like super mellow, acoustic-y stuff that he's putting out. And I don't know, kind of rad. So that's worth checking out. So at least there's one aspect of this band that I knew that everybody else wasn't 5 years ahead of me on. But, okay. I was kind of hoping Keith Hughes would... I almost called him Keith Hernandez.
Well, I mean, he does speak a little Spanish.
I was hoping Keith would be here because he's a Panthers fan, is he not?
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, I heard that on the last show, so I'm like, well, maybe he kind of got lucky on this. But this is pretty much my last chance to talk Super Bowl with you guys. We're taking a big NFL break, and which is probably just glorious music to Justin's ears.
Absolutely.
But
It's a stab
we
in the
can still
heart.
talk about like preseason and camps and all that stuff, and upcoming people from college going into NFL. We can still talk about all of that.
Yes,
oh,
yes,
exactly. Now I'm just looking forward to Combine weekend.
Right?
But Justin, did you at least tune in for halftime show this weekend?
No, I watched the entire thing.
Oh,
Really?
Hey,
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah, I watched the
Right
whole
on.
Super Bowl.
hey, I'm proud of
You guys would be proud.
Yeah, that's unexpected. Because did you guys see the meme this week where it's like hipsters be like, "I hear there's a football game at the Coldplay concert." Like, I wonder if Justin's in that camp.
No, I was there for Queen Bee.
Oh, nice.
Oh,
Oh yeah. So what did you guys actually think of that halftime show?
I thought it was really good.
I agree.
Especially compared to the few past years. I thought it was really, really well done.
I only watched it to see somebody mess up. Which I almost got that chance with Beyonce. She went down when she came on the stage, and she just did catch herself coming back up. And I was like, if she would have fell, my night would have been made. I'm sorry, dude. I'm just like, I don't care. I don't like her. Nothing. Whatever.
Blasphemy!
That's awful.
my actual favorite part of the whole halftime show is actually the montage of like every halftime show since they've been doing like really big halftime shows. I like that.
That was nice.
I like that a lot.
Yeah, I like that. I kept whenever they showed the boss, I'm like, why can't they bring somebody like Springsteen back for this? Because I'll be honest, I was pretty stoked to see Coldplay, but then it's like, there's dance battles going on, and I feel like it was literally 1 minute of Coldplay. And because we saw Bruno Mars, was it like 2014, and then the year before Beyonce was doing the halftime show.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I'm like, this is getting way too repetitive.
It really was like a Coldplay accompaniment.
Yeah, it was.
Like they were
Right.
they were playing the music, like they were just doing it, and everybody else was actually like who were the artists there.
Yeah,
Exactly. Coldplay as the house band.
As soon as I heard Beyonce and Bruno Mars was also going to be at the Super Bowl, the halftime show.
Brr.
Good Lord have mercy! I knew what was going to happen. It was going to be all right. Coldplay was going to get the little bit of spotlight in the beginning, and then after that, it was all going to be on Bruno and what's her face, Beyonce.
Beyonce.
How dare you, sir?
The singer who shall not be named.
I mean, look, I don't have any love for him. Bruno Mars is good and Beyonce is good, but it's just like That's not what I want to see. And I know why they get those for the halftime show. They need the ratings. They need people to tune in, and they're trying to get those audiences for them to tune in. I mean, if they really want to get an audience to tune in, get somebody but get with somebody like One Direction. If you want to get all the little teenage girls, there you go. Then I'll watch. I mean, yeah.
Oh no, I think this halftime show was like really well put together. Like I actually liked the dance battle that was going on.
Yeah.
Like I just thought that was like a cool, neat little like throw-in thing.
It was cool, yeah.
And just like I liked how it wasn't just like like Coldplay played and then Beyonce played and then what was the other guy? I forget his name.
Bruno Mars.
Bruno Mars. Yeah, that's right. Bruno Mars played. It was like they kind of like stayed on stage and they all kind of like worked together to put that halftime show together. I thought that was pretty cool.
It was a horrible halftime show.
It was also a very political halftime show as well.
Yeah, it was a little over political.
I liked it. But
Donald Trump on the 50-yard line.
I wish that someone could tackle him.
I didn't notice that one.
I would pay money to see that.
See, that would have been halftime perfection.
Donald Trump sacked, literally.
I don't know. I just feel like it. You know, sometimes there's a stage for it, not a stage for it. You know, I'm just there to watch a football game.
I'm with you there.
But I mean, it's a great platform, especially for the LGBT movement as well as Black Lives Matter movement. I mean, both things were represented there. Not super like over the top blatantly, but they were there.
Yeah, that's one thing I like too. That you're so right, Justin. It wasn't in your face, but if you're actually paying attention, you're able to pick up on these things. Which was cool that it's subtly done.
Yeah.
I wasn't paying attention.
I wasn't paying attention at all.
All I really saw was I saw Beyonce when she got on the field because like everyone that was in the house was just like, whoa. Like right when she stepped onto the field, everybody in the house just like stopped. Everything stopped. And everyone was looking at the TV, and I was just like, what's going on? And then when the montage happened, I was like, this is a really good montage. I like it a lot. But other than that, I was like, eating.
Halftime,
right in the nachos.
Halftime.
Right.
Well, I wanted to see how Coldplay was going to do, and I wasn't very impressed with the show. I think that, number one, whoever's doing production and the mixing and everything behind the stage or behind the scenes really shorted Coldplay in the beginning. It was off. You couldn't hear it.
Really?
It was really bad. It was. I was really disappointed in that much. But then again, it could have been the sound coming through my TV. But my TV doesn't. My TV actually has really good sound coming through it, and it was very loud because I like to turn my volume up to hear the hits, and not the ones that was at halftime.
But next year I would like to see 21 Pilots for halftime show.
Okay, that would be amazing.
They'd be great, but I don't think they have the following. They have the ratings enough to do that.
They won't.
Yeah, not quite the mass appeal.
Right after this year?
Doubt it.
No, I still think that they're going to go for people like, they're going to go for the Beyoncés, the Katy Perrys, the Bruno Marses, the days of when we had like real bands on stage. I'm sorry, real bands on stage that did, that wouldn't. I think those days are kind of gone. Because
Red Hot Chili Peppers were on last year.
Yeah, they were.
That's true. Yeah, with Bruno Mars. Yeah.
Yeah. Again, with Bruno Mars. If Bruno's Mars.
True. Because I'm looking back, like 2010 is The Who and Springsteen the year before that. Before that, Tom Petty. Mm-hmm. You go back to the Stones and 06. And but anybody from Black Eyed Peas on, you're right, just the big pop names.
Well, they had to go to those bands because of like the whole wardrobe malfunction things, and they didn't want to deal with that anymore.
Yeah,
right.
So that's why they moved to like the classic rock bands.
And notice you didn't see a Janet Jackson in the montage.
Right.
Yeah, true.
One of my buddies actually pointed that out.
Yeah, Harley pointed that out, I think, to me as well.
That's funny.
I don't know. I just
feel some kind of way about that whole ordeal. It would have been funny if they were in the montage. It was like if it was right up to the moment of the wardrobe malfunction, and then it cut to the next.
Yeah, I don't think that would have flied.
Well, I
It's
guess
a little too risky.
I guess my thing is I've never cared for the halftime show. You know, I mean, even I don't care who you put up on stage. It's pee break time because I'm there to watch a football game. So that's the moment. It's like I would look in the stands and I see all these people with their signs and stuff in the stand. You know, because they're being a part of the show. I'm like, no, bruh. I've been sitting here for 2 quarters. It's time for me to go get my hot dog and my pee on, man. I'm done.
That's the function of halftime.
Yeah, I mean, that's what it's for. And plus, you got an extra long halftime, so the guys are in the locker room a little bit longer. And so maybe that works to their advantage to get a little bit more rest. But it didn't help Carolina none last night.
No, it did
Not
not.
at all.
No.
Man, that game killed me. But yeah, everybody was saying like kind of defenses are what'll win it for you. Okay,
Exactly.
But what annoyed me was that all the focus was on Peyton Manning, all the lead up. Like, okay, but he
Oh, I
was
agree.
garbage this season, and why is the defense not getting this recognition? That's
Oh.
basically why I didn't want Denver to win, because
And he was
all
garbage
this credit
last
would go
night.
to And did you see Eli Manning's face when Peyton finally threw the
That
2-point
was so
conversion?
great.
Yeah, just no reaction, deadpan.
Well, you knew what it was. All bragging rights was now gone.
Right.
They both have
Oh,
2 Super
exactly.
Bowls.
Yeah, they both have 2 rings.
Well, and my thing is that Denver's defense was great, but I do feel this though. I do feel there was 2 plays in the game
Yep.
that critically changed the outlook of everything.
Yep.
The missed call on the catch right before the fumble. Now look, you know well as I do. When you look at that film, he caught
I
that
looked
ball
at it.
and he caught the ball.
He caught it, but then when he rolled over, the ball moved, so he didn't really have complete
But the
control
ball
all
didn't
the way
touch
through
the
the
ground.
catch.
But the ball never touched the ground. So when
It doesn't matter. You still have to have control of the ball the whole time.
right, but once he came to a complete stop, he had control of the ball.
Yep.
But the ball doesn't have to. If the ball touches the ground and it bumbles around, then yes. But he had the control, not control, but he had the ball from hitting the ground all the way through. I mean, we can go back to the Seattle catch, 2 years ago.
Yeah.
When what was it? Kurst that caught it off his knee, off his back, off his belly,
Off his leg, yeah.
Yeah, and then finally it came to a rest. I mean, he didn't have control of the ball until the very end of that catch, but it never touched the ground. That's my thing. Now, and of course, I could say a bunch of different things why Carolina should have won, but that was a game changer. I mean,
Yeah, that
if he
was
would have caught
huge.
that pass down there wouldn't have been a strip fumble touchdown in that back end. Therefore, there wouldn't have been a touchdown for Denver until I don't know how long it would have been.
Yeah.
But I always go back and say this: no matter what call was made, Carolina still had the ability to come back and win that game if they played a better game. But Denver's defense, there is taking nothing away from them. Von Miller deserved the MVP, got the MVP. He's the man, son. I mean, good Lord. I watched him do things last night against Carolina's offensive line I didn't see anybody all year do. That was amazing.
Yeah, phenomenal performance by him. But who agrees with me if Carolina ended up winning it? MVP goes to Coney Ely.
Yeah, I agree.
That guy had a beast of a game. He had 3 sacks, that clutch interception, forced fumble. Like, he was on that game.
Ely was last night was a showcase of defenses. That was all it was. Both offenses looked like crap. The best run of the night, Mike Tolbert had the best outside of C.J. Anderson's one long run he had. Mike Tolbert had the next best run and fumbled it. So I mean, both of the offenses looked horrible. More drops. I mean, good Lord, Carolina had more drops than I've known. And then of course, Demaryius Thomas didn't do anything last night because Josh Norman shut him down I mean, it was a defensive game. It was just that Denver's defense got the better of Carolina's offense.
Absolutely.
It was a good football game.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to shut her down because I'm saying we could do this all night, and we have done it before where we've gone 30 minutes overtime.
Exactly.
Just wanted to get some NFL talk in.
Well, there's our NFL
so we don't
talk.
have to wait months. But yeah, thanks again for having me on, guys. And if you're listening to this at home, I promise we'll get back into some indie rock and hardcore, whatever, next week. So check me out at giantsinthesound.com, and you can connect with my social media there too. All right, thanks, guys.
All right, thank you.
As I close, and I cannot
welcome back. Let's finish this thing up. That was Burden of a Day, Oleander from an album unknown.
I'm pretty sure we played them on the podcast before.
We did. We actually played A Burden of a Day. We played Found Hiding way back in the day of the show. It was another track, I'm going to guess, from the same EP album, Time Frame.
Yeah.
It's something that's not released anywhere, not
right
in print. You can't find it on iTunes. You just can't find it.
Right.
I think the only actual legitimate place to find it now is on my YouTube page, and that's only found.
Actually, I got it from this MP3 website. You paid like $30. You could download as much music as you wanted. It was like called like Kazam or Kazoo or something like that. And I was like, I like Burden of a Day, so I typed in Burden of the Day and just downloaded everything off of it.
Yeah,
so someone had uploaded it onto that, and that's where I had gotten it from.
Yeah, so somehow we got
I
these
talked
songs.
to like the guitarist from that. You can find him on Twitter, and you can probably go ask him what it is.
Yeah, so it's like it's an obscure album, we'll say that, and it's really good songs. They're really good. They're so awesome. We played them in worship a lot. Mm-hmm. We seem to find a fit for them, and people are like, "Man, you played that in worship at a church?" It's like, "Yeah, bro, that's what we did. That's how we got. That's how we got down, man. We got down with JC that way." Anyways, but yeah, that was Burden of a Day. That was Oleander. Honestly, I think what I'm going to do this week is I'm going to put a link on our Facebook site to the show list. Okay. So you can get to all the songs that we played on Spotify. If you have a Spotify account, you pay for it, you can get to those songs there. We have pretty much every song we've played except for a few that are not found on Spotify, and it's a very few. Right. And if you try to play Oleander or Found Hiding, you won't be able to because they're my songs on my playlist, and you can't play them. So, sorry. I apologize. But anyways, we had a good show tonight.
Yeah, definitely.
It was a spontaneous show.
It was very spontaneous, but I think we handled it really well.
Yeah, I mean, we went from riots to Church Matters to,
Denominations.
A good talk on football in a music segment.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty all over the place tonight. So I hope everybody enjoyed the show. Now, Robbie had some discussion questions in his book that we didn't get to, and I think what we'll do is. Robbie, what I want you to do is formulate those into interview questions for Justin.
Ooh.
So we can at least get them in at some point, or maybe we'll go back and revisit it at some point and talk those discussion questions. Maybe when we have a couple more people on the show that can add fresh insights to this.
Yeah, I think that'd definitely be good.
Because I mean, I think fresh insights is always welcomed here. We try to do that. This conglomerate media group. So, yeah, I mean, it's, for me, I look back at what we talked about, and it's just the thing that gets me is that after a Super Bowl, and especially a team like Carolina, right. and this is something I think that's important for us from Forgetting Walls is to put out there to people, is that, be nice. Well, let me take that. Don't be nice. Yeah. Be loving. Don't be nice. Being nice most of the time for me is being fake. But be loving. Be respectful. Okay? I knew as soon as the Super Bowl was done and the way Carolina got beat, everybody would be all over Cam Newton about, his play, this, that, and the other. And so they're ripping him from one side to the other. Man, he's a human being with emotions and feelings. I mean, he went out there to do his job. I mean, people are like, well, he gets paid all this money. He's getting paid all this money because people like you are paying the money. So if you don't want him to get paid that money, stop watching him. Stop buying the gear. Stop buying the tickets. Treat people with a little bit of respect. Right. People treat people like you want to be treated. I mean, how many times can we say that here?
Yep.
I mean, you're a human being. Treat them like a human being. It's ridiculous to see people act in such childish manners. I mean, we had Keith on last week and we interviewed him, and Keith is a Carolina fan, and I'm not. I'm a Duke fan. Now, now this is the funny thing. Last week, and I'll tell you, last week Keith came and he's like, "I'm not watching Twitter." Oh yeah, there you go, Robbie, Duke. He's like, I'm not going to be on Twitter, Instagram, anything because Carolina's playing Louisville and I'm recording the game and I don't want to see the score. But see, I would look at the score throughout the night just to see how they were doing. And then when Keith was leaving, like after we get done with the show, Keith was getting ready to leave, and I just kind of glanced at the game, and I was like, oh, man, Carolina got beat by Louisville.
Oh, no.
And I was like, oh, and he's like, what? And I was like, I just got a text. No big deal. Which that's a lie, and maybe I'll go to hell for it. I don't know. But, but I didn't want to tell him to score the game because even at my base, being a Duke fan, I want to rub stuff in his face because he's a Carolina fan. And I'm like, I can't do it because I want him to find out the heartbreak on his own. No. And then tonight, if he was here, because, Louisville played Duke tonight, and Duke's had a bad streak, but Duke beat Louisville tonight.
Hey.
And I would love to rub that in his face, but I'm not going to rub it in his face. And people are like, well, you're doing it now on the podcast. But see, Keith doesn't listen to the podcast, so we're okay.
That is absolutely true.
Yes.
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 If he did listen to the podcast, then it would be something to worry about.
Yeah, I won't worry about it because, truth's truth. But I thank all you guys for jumping on here tonight and helping out.
Yeah, absolutely.
I want to say this as we get ready to get off here tonight. Check out the new episode or the pilot episode for Off the Cuff with Justin and Keith. It's kind of weird to say that. Look forward to a new episode. I think we'll be releasing these on Sunday night, Mondays time frame. So we'll be releasing a podcast. Forgetting Walls will be releasing 2 podcasts a week now, one on Thursday and one on Monday, but they're 2 different podcasts, so don't get confused. It's only going to happen for about a week or 2, and then Off the Cuff will be running, and hopefully here soon we'll have a vlog page up with some Justin and David stuff, and we're going to be working on a few more things, so stick around, stay tuned, because we're going to get busy this year. We're going to get real busy. We're going to be so busy I might need to quit my job, and so we're going to get real busy this year. So if you got any ideas, tips, helps, you want to be a part of something, let us know. We would love to get something else going. And Darcy, if you're listening, that goes for you too, bro. Free up some time. Let's get this music show going. I know I pick on him so much about it. I'm like, yeah, Darcy, let's do it. And he's like, I got so much work. And I'm like, I know, man. I'm just picking on you. But we're glad to have Darcy on the show with us with Johnson and Sound. So go over and check out johnsonandsound.com. He just released a new review. It's if you're into the music we're into, it's worth your while to go over and check out his site. Check us out at forgettingwalls.com. You can catch us on all the social media the same way, and we would love some reviews and ratings from you because it does help us get the message out to other people.
Yes, very much so.
So in saying all that, Wesley, it has been a pleasure to have you on the show again.
Thanks for having me.
Get that better internet connection so we can hear you much better next time.
I'll try.
As always, Robbie, at your very strict school, we appreciate you having on as well.
I appreciate you guys bringing the onions into the meat and potatoes.
There you go.
Always.
Good job tonight, Robbie. You basically hosted the meat and potatoes. We appreciate it.
Yeah.
And Justin, as always,
do what I can.
In the lawless land of Boone.
Yeah. In the snowy land of Boone.
Yeah.
It's been a good show. We appreciate everybody being here. Justin and I will see you Thursday. Guys and girls, we always want to remind you that people are not projects. They are people just like you and me. So love them like you love yourself. And we'll see you next week.
Thank you for listening to the Forgetting Walls podcast. If you're subscribing to us on iTunes, leave us a rating to help us spread the word about this podcast. Remember, the only way this works is if you share your story. So be sure to visit the website and leave us a comment at forgettingwalls.com or find us on Twitter at forgettingwalls and facebook.com/forgettingwalls.
Peace!
I find your lack of faith disturbing.
I had to get the picture.